Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're inviting you into some of the most enchanting, visually stunning worlds ever created. Really just breathtaking stuff.
Yeah.
We're talking about Studio Ghibli.
Oh, yes.
Those incredible films,
Ah.
renowned for their powerful storytelling, that meticulous hand-drawn artistry,
Unmistakable.
and just vivid imagination. Think about Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbor Totoro. I mean, each one's a masterpiece, right? It just transports you.
Absolutely. They really pull you into these other realities.
But have you ever found yourself wondering, as you're, exploring these diverse beloved films, if they might actually be connected, like part of a single grand evolving universe?
It's a truly fascinating question, isn't it? And it's one that, well, countless fans have pondered for years, debating theories online, spotting recurring characters, trying to find those subtle links.
You see the little fox squirrels pop up or the soot sprites?
Exactly. But while Studio Ghibli itself has never officially confirmed a literal shared canon for its films, and actually they've even explicitly denied certain fan interpretations, urging viewers to appreciate each film on its own.
Right, they want each story to stand alone.
They do. But the presence of these recurring motifs, creatures, and especially the deep thematic undercurrents, well, that provides a truly compelling basis for a unique kind of exploration.
Okay.
It's less about revealing some secret, like, Marvel-style cinematic universe.
Right, no post-credit scenes linking everything directly.
Exactly. It's more about a shared spiritual and philosophical landscape that you can sort of map out.
Absolutely. So our mission today is clear then. This deep dive isn't about revealing some hidden, rigid plot continuity or a secret, literal Ghibli cinematic universe.
No secret handshake required.
Right. Instead, we're going to construct what we're calling a thematic chronology, and we'll be drawing extensively from this really insightful, scholarly synthesis called the Ghibli Tapestry, a chronology of themes and lore.
Ah, the tapestry, yes.
This remarkable work helps us navigate these subtle connections.
That's right. This tapestry arranges the films not by release date, which is how most people think of them, but into the most plausible historical and narrative sequence.
Okay, so based on clues within the films.
Exactly. Based on their internal world building, their historical settings, some are very specific, others more alternate history, and their profound philosophical trajectories, where the ideas seem to lead.
Gotcha.
The connections, as we'll explore, are found not in a strict, overt plot, like character A meets character B, but in a consistent worldview that evolves across different eras. Think of it as like the DNA of Studio Ghibli's storytelling. It flows and transforms through time.
And what a journey it is. I mean, we're talking about an overarching narrative arc here, one that charts humanity's changing relationship with magic, with nature, and crucially with technology.
That's the core triad, really.
It starts way back in an ancient age of gods. Then it weaves through these periods of incredible magic and technology combined, and the subsequent sort of waning of that spiritual presence.
The magic fading away.
Yeah, and it culminates in this distant, really thought-provoking, post-apocalyptic future.
Yeah.
As we unfurl this grand narrative, you'll truly start to see each film as a crucial chapter, a vibrant thread in this larger, powerful saga. It promises some real aha moments, I think, things that will reframe how you view these films you already love.
Definitely. This approach offers you, our listener, a fresh, maybe deeper perspective on films you thought you knew inside and out. It promises insights into those profound themes they always explore: environmentalism, pacifism, love, the sheer complexity of the human condition.
All the big stuff.
All the big stuff. Consider it your shortcut, maybe, to being genuinely well-informed about the philosophical DNA that runs through the very heart of the Ghibli universe.
Okay.
It's about seeing the forest, not just the trees, but in the most beautiful, Ghibli-esque way possible.
I like that. Seeing the forest. So settle in, everyone, because we're about to unfurl the grand Ghibli tapestry starting right at the very beginning. So if we're truly unwinding this grand Ghibli tapestry, where do we first see these threads begin to form? What's the very foundation of this evolving worldview?
We have to go way back.
Yeah. That takes us into part one, the Age of Gods and Ancient Pacts. This spans from antiquity right up to around 1573, give or take.
A vast stretch of time.
And this earliest era in our chronological tapestry, it's described as truly an age of myth, a time when the boundaries between the mortal, the natural, and the divine realms were, well, incredibly porous, very fluid.
You could just stumble into the spirit world almost.
Right. Humanity lived in a world where gods and spirits walked among them, often with direct, visible influence, not just folklore, but reality.
Precisely. And this period establishes the foundational lore of the Ghibli universe. It chronicles what the Ghibli tapestry source refers to as a great separation.
A great separation. Sounds ominous.
It is, in a way. It's this tragic, gradual process where humanity's growing influence, its increasing desires, its technological advancements, they tragically precipitate a gradual withdrawal of the divine from the world.
So humanity sort of pushes the magic away.
Inadvertently, perhaps. But yes, it sets the somber, almost melancholic tone for everything that follows. It's not an immediate departure, like flipping a switch. It's a slow, sorrowful retreat.
Wow. Okay, so where better to start than at the absolute beginning, with the tale of the Princess Kaguya.
The perfect starting point.
Our source positions this film as the earliest point in the timeline. It dates back to Antiquity Heian period, which is roughly 794 to 1185 CE.
Ancient Japan.
Exactly. And is based on the tale of the bamboo cutter, a 10th century Japanese folktale, which, get this, was even referred to in the tale of Genji as the ancestor of all tales. The Age of the Gods.
Wow. So truly foundational.
Foundational lore right there. It sets the stage for what divine presence even means in this universe.
Indeed. And the world building in Kaguya immediately establishes the existence of this celestial civilization on the moon.
Right, the moon people.
From which divine beings can be exiled to Earth, often as a form of punishment, or maybe to experience mortal suffering to learn something.
Okay.
Kaguya herself is discovered inside a glowing bamboo stalk by an old bamboo cutter. Just appears, and her divine presence is undeniable. She exhibits this incredibly rapid, unnatural growth.
Like super speed growth.
Yeah, transforming from an infant to a young woman in just 3 months. It's astonishing. And her very existence brings magical prosperity to her adoptive family.
Yeah.
There's abundant gold, exquisite silks, just appearing mysteriously within the bamboo stalks.
Wow.
It's as if the divine abundance of her home, the moon, is just spilling over onto the earthly plane through her.
But her character arc is so deeply poignant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kaguya's entire experience on Earth is one of deep mortal life. The joy, the beauty, but ultimately profound sorrow.
The bitterness that comes with the sweetness.
Exactly. She struggles intensely with human desires, with the rigid societal structures of the aristocracy she's forced into. She famously rejects those 5 noble suitors, and even the emperor himself.
Assigning them impossible tasks.
Right. Which highlights both her otherworldly nature and her desperate desire to avoid a life of, well, conventional human confinement. But despite her divine origin, she forms this profound, genuine bond with her earthly parents.
You feel that love so strongly.
You do. And she finds true love for the simple, fleeting beauty of countryside life. The chirping crickets, the blossoming flowers, the changing seasons. Her sorrow comes from realizing the transient nature of human happiness, how quickly it passes. Which is such a stark contrast to her eternal, maybe emotionless life back on the moon.
And what's truly fascinating here, connecting it to our timeline, is how the climax of Kaguya marks what our tapestry source calls the first great schism in the Ghibli universe.
The first big break.
The first big break. As her time on Earth nears its end, this celestial retinue descends from the moon to reclaim her. The Emperor tries, desperately, using human means to protect her, but it's futile against the divine.
Yeah, armies are no match.
No. And the heartbreaking act is when the celestial feathered robe is placed upon her. It just erases all her memories of Earth instantly.
Yeah. Oh, that's brutal.
It is. It serves as this poignant, irreversible severing of humanity's connection to the celestial divine. It establishes a devastating precedent for the tragic incompatibility, as the source puts it, between mortal life and higher magical realms.
So they just can't coexist, ultimately.
It seems not, or at least not easily. This sets up a narrative pattern of loss and separation that really resonates throughout the entire Ghibli timeline. It hints that as humanity becomes more complex, more driven by earthly desires, it becomes harder to coexist with pure ancient magic.
That's a truly heartbreaking first separation. So, okay, the celestial beings have retreated. Their direct influence is literally pulled back to the moon. Does their presence just vanish then?
Good question.
Or does it transform? Maybe find new homes here on Earth? This raises the question, how does the divine presence shift from the celestial to the terrestrial? And what happens when humanity, with its, burgeoning ambition and technology, clashes directly with that earthly divine?
Precisely. The divine energy doesn't just disappear, it feels like it's rerouted. It shifts from the heavens to the land itself, becoming deeply intertwined with nature, with the forests, the mountains, the rivers.
Okay, so it's still here, just different.
Exactly. And that brings us centuries later to a period where humanity's increasing industrial power clashes head-on with these terrestrial gods. And this defines our next major separation, depicted vividly in Princess Mononoke.
Mononoke, a
Yeah.
fan favorite, and definitely feels ancient.
It does. This film is set centuries later during Japan's tumultuous late Muromachi period. That's roughly 1336 to 1573. It truly depicts the decline of what we could call the age of gods and demons on Earth, a time when these ancient spirits are really pushed to their breaking point by human expansion.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because the key world-building and lore events in Princess Mononoke show such a clear progression from Kaguya. We see the dramatic rise of human industry, specifically ironworks, Irontown,
Downtown, yeah.
and early firearms, like the historical Tanegashima matchlocks,
Yeah.
those rifles introduced to Japan around 1543. And what's so chilling is that the source explicitly states these weapons are powerful enough to kill gods.
It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? It just underlines humanity's newfound destructive power, a power the celestial beings in Kaguya didn't really face from humans.
Totally different scale.
It is. And it's crucial to understand how that human technological advancement directly impacts the divine. In this era, the great animal gods, the kami, those divine spirits in Shinto tradition, believed to inhabit natural elements like mountains, trees, animals.
Right.
They can be corrupted, turned into rampaging demons by hatred, by pain inflicted by humans. We see this immediately with the boar god Nago. He's transformed by a human-made iron bullet into this horrifying, vengeful creature consumed by rage.
That opening scene is unforgettable.
It really is. And it serves as this powerful metaphor for the destructive consequences of human actions on the sacred natural world. We also see the presence of the Kodama, those little tree spirits.
The head-wobbling guys.
Yes. Their numbers reflect the health of the forest. They're this subtle, almost quiet reminder of the lingering magic that still exists, even if it's perpetually threatened. They flicker in and out.
Okay, so the characters driving this conflict. We have Ashitaka. He's the last prince of the Emishi tribe, cursed by that very demonized boar god Nago. He journeys forth seeking a cure, but also understanding. His personal motto, to see with eyes unclouded by hate, perfectly encapsulates his role, right? He's the mediator, desperately trying to bridge this ever-widening gap between humanity and nature, a role that feels increasingly impossible in this escalating conflict. He embodies this kind of dying idealism.
Then there's Lady Eboshi, the formidable leader of Irontown. And she's such a complex figure. She really embodies both human ingenuity and, well, destructive hubris.
She's not just a villain.
No, not at all. The tapestry source points out she's actually a progressive leader in some ways. She provides sanctuary for society's outcasts, former prostitutes, people with leprosy, giving them purpose and dignity in her burgeoning industrial society.
Right, she gives them work, community.
Exactly. Yet her actions in clear-cutting ancient forests for iron, producing those very weapons powerful enough to kill gods, that makes her a formidable and uncompromising antagonist to the forest spirits. She sees the forest purely as a resource to be conquered, not a sacred entity to be respected.
And then there's San, the titular Princess Mononoke, a human girl raised by wolves who absolutely despises her own species for their destructive tendencies. Her loyalty is entirely to the forest. She represents that wild, untamed spirit of nature fighting back against encroaching civilization, completely unwilling to compromise.
And at the heart of it all, orchestrating life and death, is the forest spirit, the Shishigami. This silent, enigmatic deity. It appears as a gentle, deer-like creature by day, but transforms into this colossal, translucent nightwalker by night.
Kind of terrifying, kind of beautiful.
Exactly. Its existence literally embodies the life force of the forest, and its very presence dictates the cycles of nature. It's true. Terrifying power is only really revealed when its head is severed.
Right. The conflict escalates to that devastating climax. Lady Eboshi actually succeeds in decapitating the forest spirit. It's such a shocking act of sacrilege.
It feels wrong on a deep level.
It does, and this unleashes that catastrophic wave of deathly ooze, this destructive force that spreads across the land as the spirit, headless, searches frantically for what it has lost. But Ashitaka and San, in this act of profound desperation and courage, manage to return the head.
They appease the spirit, and this leads to a wave of life healing the land, miraculously curing Ashitaka's curse as well. However, and this is crucial for our timeline, the world is irrevocably changed.
It can't go back.
No. The tapestry emphasizes that the great animal gods are diminished. They're fated to become smaller, less intelligent, less powerful with each passing generation. The age of gods as a dominant, physically powerful force on Earth is definitively over.
Wow. This marks the second great separation. It severs humanity's direct physical connection to the terrestrial divine, leaving humankind with its powerful technology as the undisputed dominant force on the planet.
For better or worse.
For better or worse, it sets the stage for humanity to shape its own destiny entirely with its own creations, blending technology now with only the faintest remnants of magic. The balance has tipped decisively towards humanity.
What a dramatic shift. So the gods have receded, first the celestial, like Kaguya's people, then the terrestrial, the animal gods of Mononoke's forest. It really feels like humanity has gained immense power, but at a profound spiritual cost.
A trade-off, yeah.
A heavy one.
This brings us into part 2, the rise and fall of Magitech civilizations. This period stretches from roughly, 700 years ago up to the early 20th century in this Ghibli chronology.
Right, bridging the ancient past towards a more recognizable era.
And this era is truly defined by human ingenuity, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where magic and technology don't just coexist, but they actively merge into these incredibly powerful forces, what our source calls Magitech.
Indeed. It's an age of incredible advancement and innovation, where ancient mystical energies, maybe remnants of that divine power, are harnessed by advanced engineering. Think crystals, flying machines.
Yeah. But it's also a period that deeply explores the inherent dangers of such immense power, right? Establishing this recurring cycle. Hubris, magnificent collapse, and then these fragmented, often dangerous legacies left scattered in their wake.
It's a recurring cautionary tale, absolutely. Woven into the very fabric of these civilizations. It shows again and again that power without wisdom, without that connection to the earth perhaps, is always a path to ruin.
And the crown jewel of this era, chronologically speaking within this framework, has to be Castle in the Sky, or Laputa.
Laputa, iconic.
Our source tells us that while the film's primary setting feels like an alternate late 19th, early 20th century, miners, air pirates, early planes.
That's sort of steampunk vibe.
Yeah. Exactly. But the lore itself centers on a past global empire that existed approximately 700 years before the film's main events. So the advanced civilization of Laputa actually existed much, much earlier than the film's main action. It's like this ghost from a glorious, powerful past hanging over the present.
Correct. The Laputian civilization was characterized by its awe-inspiring flying cities. These enormous structures just suspended impossibly in the sky, all powered by that mysterious crystalline substance known as valisite, or sometimes called etherium.
The blue glowing crystals.
Those ones. This material granted them not only levitation for the cities themselves, but immense energy, which they could then harness into the devastating fire of heaven superweapon.
Which sounds apocalyptic.
The tapestry describes it as having the force of a nuclear bomb, capable of laying waste to entire cities below in just a single blinding flash. But what's particularly insightful, I think, is the dual-purpose nature of their automatons, those iconic robots, the Sentinels.
Yeah, the big, friendly-looking but dangerous ones.
Exactly. They were formidable in destruction when necessary, capable of unleashing that fire of heaven. But primarily, their main function seems to have been peaceful gardeners and caretakers, tending to Laputa's lush, self-sustaining ecosystem high above the clouds.
So the tech itself wasn't inherently evil.
Precisely. This highlights a critical thematic point. Technology's use is ultimately determined by human intent and wisdom, not by its inherent nature. And hey, we also see the reappearance of those fox squirrels here.
Oh yeah, the little flying ones from Nausicaa originally, right?
Well, Nausicaa the manga came first, but Laputa the film predates the Nausicaa film. But yes, they pop up again. A recurring motif, perhaps an echo of pure nature persisting through these changing technological eras.
Interesting. So why did such a magnificent empire, with technology far beyond the film's present day, decline? Why wasn't it still ruling the world?
And the tapestry source explains it's a profound philosophical reason. It wasn't war or disaster initially. The Laputians voluntarily renounced ultimate power.
Voluntarily. They just gave it up.
They understood, according to the lore hinted at in the film, that man cannot live separated from the earth. That connection was vital.
Wow. That's profound.
It is. Laputa wasn't destroyed by an external enemy or internal strife. Not initially, anyway. It was abandoned. Left as an ecotopia, this perfect synthesis of nature and technology, cared for only by its loyal robotic guardians. It's a conscious choice, a precedent of relinquishing power for wisdom that's incredibly important for understanding the Ghibli worldview.
It's almost unique in these kinds of stories, isn't it? Usually empires fall through violence or decay.
Exactly. A civilization choosing wisdom over continued dominance. It's quite something.
So the primary characters in the film then interact with this powerful abandoned legacy. We have Shita, or Lushita, Tolio Laputa. She's the last true heir, the keeper of that Vuosite amulet, which is a key to her lineage and Laputa itself. And she eventually accepts her royal heritage, not really for power, but more to protect her people's legacy and the wisdom of her ancestors from those who would misuse it.
And Pazu, the young miner, he's driven by his father's dream of finding the fabled city. He represents that innate human curiosity, that desire for discovery and wonder. Their intentions are fundamentally pure, driven by connection to the past and a sense of awe.
But then you have Luska, another royal descendant, but his ambition is entirely corrupt, isn't it?
Utterly. He wants to seize Laputa's military might for himself, to wield the fire of heaven and just dominate the world. Pure power grab.
And Dola and her eccentric air pirates, they're driven by a more simple desire for treasure, maybe adventure.
Rare.
Less ideological, more opportunistic.
Right. So you have all these different human motivations, the noble, the curious, the greedy, the adventurous, all converging on this lost source of immense ancient power.
And in the climax, Shida and Pazu recite that spell of destruction, the charm of ruin. What's fascinating here, as the source points out, is that this spell doesn't actually annihilate Laputa entirely.
It's not total destruction.
No. Instead, it seems to purge its destructive elements. It causes the lower, weaponized levels of the city to crumble away, falling to the earth below, inert, powerless.
While the core remains.
Exactly. What remains is the city's pure heart, the garden, the great central tree, the peaceful robots, and it ascends higher into the upper atmosphere, forever beyond the grasp of human greed.
A final act of separation, preserving the ideal.
Yeah. This profound choice by the original Laputians to prioritize peace over power sets this powerful precedent. And you can even see their technology, particularly those colossal automatons, as a clear precursor to the even more devastating god warriors we'll discuss later in Nausicaa.
A direct lineage of technological might, absolutely. But Laputa also represents the potential for wise restraint, a choice that seems largely forgotten in later eras.
What an amazing concept, a civilization choosing wisdom, choosing to let go of that ultimate power. But okay, what happens when such a magnificent unified empire collapses? Even if it was initially abandoned, its legacy is still there. What kind of world is left behind when that central, almost godlike power source is gone?
Does the knowledge just vanish, or does it fragment?
Right. Does it become something else entirely? Less controlled, maybe more dangerous?
That's the perfect segue into Howl's Moving Castle. Our source understands this world, which is set in an alternate early 20th century, as a direct consequence of the collapse of the unified Laputian Empire.
Okay. So Howl's world follows Laputa's decline.
It's as if Laputa's fall left this huge power vacuum and maybe a scattering of its Magitech legacy, leading to a much more fractured, chaotic world fighting over the scraps.
So we're looking at a fractured legacy here. The tapestry describes Ingari, the main kingdom in Howl's, as a world of warring kingdoms engaged in this brutal, seemingly pointless war. Fueled by petty nationalism, deep-seated grudges. It all feels very early 20th century in that way.
It does, and it's this strange, unsettling blend. You have early 20th century technology like clunky, steam-powered battleships and very primitive airplanes, coexisting side by side with incredibly powerful, institutionalized magic. Magic that's been integrated right into the machinery of state.
It's a messy commingling of eras and power sources, not like the clean crystal tech of Laputa.
Indeed. Unlike that centralized Volucate-based technology, magic here seems to have been co-opted, weaponized by the state. It's become a tool of conquest and destruction. You have the royal sorceress, Madame Suleiman, as a key military advisor.
Right, playing on the strings.
And powerful wizards like Howl himself are conscripted into service, their immense powers twisted for warfare. And this militarization of magic is depicted as deeply corrupting, not just for the land, but for the wielders themselves. We see wizards transforming into these monstrous bird bird-like creatures when they use war magic. They risk their very humanity, their souls, with each foray into battle. It's a really stark contrast to the pure, almost spiritual potential of the Volucite in Laputa's peaceful functions. Power here comes at a terrible personal cost.
And the magic in this world feels so deeply tied to a character's inner state, doesn't it? It's very psychological.
Very much so. Take Howl, for instance. His immense power comes from that pact he made with Calcifer, the falling star, the fire demon. But this pact leaves him, as the source says, emotionally stunted. He's flighty, superficial, terrified of commitment, unable to truly love.
His heart isn't his own.
Exactly. And the moving castle itself, that chaotic, constantly shifting labyrinth of rooms and doors, it's almost a physical manifestation of his refusal to settle down, to engage with his true self, his past. It reflects his internal turmoil perfectly.
And Sophie, her curse, being transformed into a 90-year-old woman by the jealous witch of the waste. The film strongly implies it's directly connected to her own self-perception.
Right, of being prematurely old and plain, of her lack of confidence and self-worth before the curse.
But paradoxically, this curse liberates her. Being an old woman allows her to speak her mind, to act with this newfound confidence, to care for Howl and the others without reservation.
And her age even fluctuates, doesn't it? She gets younger when she's brave or loving or asserting herself, and then reverts when self-doubt creeps back in. It's visually showing her inner state.
That's fascinating. And the Witch of the Waste, too. Her magic creates this illusion of youth and power. But when Madame Solomon strips it away, she reverts to this harmless, almost senile old woman, revealing her true, vulnerable self underneath the facade.
Even the war itself. The whole pointless conflict that drives the plot was apparently sparked by a cursed Prince Justin's transformation into Turnip Head, the Scarecrow. Magic here is less about grand cosmic forces and much more about the deeply personal, often psychological impact it has on individuals and their relationships.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the timeline, it makes so much sense. The fall of a monolithic, unified, maybe wiser empire like Laputa logically leads to a fragmented, chaotic political landscape like Ingori's.
It feels like a direct consequence, doesn't it? Not just a change of scenery.
Yeah.
The loss of that central unifying power source like Volucite, and perhaps the wisdom that guided its original use, results in these successor states fighting over the scattered remnants of old technology and developing localized, perhaps less pure forms of power like institutionalized sorcery used for war. The pointless war we witness in Howl's Moving Castle feels like the inevitable outcome of this fractured legacy, as the source puts it. It's a world that seems to have forgotten the wisdom of its ancestors, the Laputians who chose to abandon such destructive power.
So it's a clear illustration of humanity's tendency to repeat past mistakes, even after seeing the potential consequences of unchecked power, like the fire of heaven.
It certainly feels that way. It raises that heavy question. Can humanity ever truly learn from its past? Or are these cycles of hubris and conflict just inevitable, becoming maybe even pettier and more destructive without a unifying wise force guiding things?
That's a heavy question to ponder as we move into the next phase, Part 3. The waning of magic and the tumult of the 20th century. This covers roughly 1918 to the 1990s.
A very recognizable, very human century.
And this era marks a profound transformation in the Ghibli universe, doesn't it? The grand, overt magic, the sweeping magitech of Laputa, and even the powerful sorcery of Howl's world. It seems to recede dramatically.
It really fades into the background.
Becoming folklore, maybe hidden phenomena, or deeply personal, almost psychological abilities. The world is becoming increasingly mundane, human-dominated, industrialized.
Indeed. The lore in this period mirrors real-world conflicts, immense societal upheavals, world wars, the Cold War era, rapid modernization, and humanity's increasingly fraught relationship with progress versus tradition. The tapestry source calls this the submergence of magic.
Submergence.
Yeah.
Like it's being drowned out.
Exactly. A process where the supernatural world is progressively displaced, paved over, industrialized over, and ultimately forgotten by an ascendant, secular human society. It's a quiet yet relentless suppression.
Okay, let's start with the interwar period and the rise of fascism, roughly 1918-1930s, a time of intense technological innovation, especially in flight, but also dangerous ideological fervor and nationalism brewing. First up, the wind rises.
Ah, Jiro's story.
which spans from 1918 to 1945, really anchoring this period historically.
This film is so poignant and very historically grounded, anchored firmly in Taisho and early Showa-era Japan. It features real-world events like the devastating 1923 Great Kanto earthquake, the Great Depression hitting Japan, and that rising militarism as the country strove for technological parity with the West, specifically in aviation.
And in this meticulously rendered world, magic is almost entirely retreated, hasn't it? It seems confined purely to the subconscious.
Pretty much. The only supernatural elements are Jiro Horikoshi's recurring vivid dreams, where he communes with his idol, the legendary Italian aeronautical designer Caproni.
So those dream sequences.
They feel less about literal magic and more about the creative subconscious, the realm of ideas, inspiration, the internal world of an artist.
And it's in these dreams that Jiro's pure ideal of flight, his pursuit of beauty, of engineering perfection, confronts the cursed dream, as Caproni calls it. The tragic reality that his beautiful airplanes, his art, are destined to become tools of war and destruction, not instruments of peaceful exploration.
That tension is heartbreaking.
It really is. This film truly emphasizes that technology now fully dominates the physical world. Magic is barely a whisper, only existing in the realm of an artist's profound inner conflict about the application of his creations.
Concurrently, in the timeline, we have Porco Rosso, set slightly later, 1929 to the 1930s.
The Flying Pig.
The Flying Pig. Set against that evocative backdrop of the Adriatic Sea during the interwar period, with Benito Mussolini's fascist regime consolidating power in Italy, it's a world steeped in post-WWI disillusionment. Heroes are jaded, ideals feel scarce.
A very different mood from Wind Rises.
Very. And here, the only explicit magic is Marco Pagot's transformation into an anthropomorphic pig, Porco Rosso.
And what's fascinating about this personalized magic is that the source suggests the curse is self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted? How so?
Well, it's presented as a physical manifestation of his profound disillusionment with humanity after the horrors of WWI, his survivor's guilt over lost comrades, and his utter refusal to serve fascism. He chose to become a pig rather than compromise his principles or face his past trauma.
Ah, okay, so it's symbolic.
Very much so. His famous motto, "I'd rather be a pig than a fascist," really codifies the curse as an act of political and moral rebellion. His transformation isn't just some random magical event. It's a powerful metaphor for his cynical self-perception, his rejection of human folly.
A state from which he's only momentarily freed, perhaps, by the unwavering innocence and belief of Fio, the young engineer.
And the enduring, unconditional love of Gina, the hotel owner who waits for him. It's almost as if his external form reflects his internal state, his rejection of the complexities and darkness of being human in that era.
So from these subtle forms of magic and deeply personal curses, we transition into, well, the absolute nadir of the human condition in this timeline. Then, afterwards, the timid, quiet reemergence of the spiritual world. We're entering the Pacific War and its aftermath, 1945-1958.
And this brings us tragically to Grave of the Fireflies, set in 1945. This is, without a doubt, the timeline's most realistic and heartbreaking chapter.
Yeah.
Just devastating.
Agreed. It's an unflinching, brutally honest look at the final months of WWII from the perspective of two innocent children, Seita and Setsuko, struggling just to survive after their lives are irrevocably shattered by the war.
The lore here is essentially the historical record itself, isn't it? There's no fantasy, no escape.
None whatsoever. The film meticulously documents the American firebombing campaign, specifically the Kobe raid of March 1945, and the resulting societal collapse, widespread starvation, the complete breakdown of community bonds, even family bonds.
And in a world so utterly consumed by human-wrought destruction, as the source puts it, magic is entirely absent. There's just no room for it.
The desperation, the suffering, the loss, there is simply no space for the supernatural. The sole supernatural element, if you can call it that, is the narrative frame. The silent, ethereal spirits of Seita and Setsuko watching their own tragedy unfold, a haunting testament to their brief lives.
God, yeah. And the fireflies they capture. They become such multivalent symbols, don't they?
Fleeting joy in the face of despair, ephemeral life that burns brightly but briefly, and tragically they mirror the scattered souls of the dead, even the incendiary bombs raining down from the sky.
It's a truly powerful and devastating piece of this tapestry, where humanity's darkest moments leave absolutely no room for the fantastical, only the raw, painful truth of suffering, a complete absence of Ghibli's usual wonder.
But then, 13 years later, in 1958, we find My Neighbor Totoro.
Ah, Totoro. The tonal shift is immense.
Immense. This film is set in a slowly healing post-war rural Japan. The Kusakabe family's move to the countryside represents a retreat from that trauma, from the urban devastation seen in Grave, and a return to a simpler, more idyllic life in harmony with nature.
And here, the spirit world seems to reassert itself, but in a profoundly changed form, right?
Exactly. The great world-shaping gods of Princess Mononoke are long gone. Their direct influence is a thing of the distant past. Instead, you have nature spirits, kami, and yokai, but they are now hidden from adults, largely invisible.
Only kids can see them.
Visible only to children like Satsuki and Mei, who possess those pure hearts and open minds, untainted by the cynicism or the preoccupations of the adult world. Totoro himself is described as a powerful Mori no Nushi, a master of the forest.
Right, living in the giant camphor tree.
Residing in that sacred camphor tree, marked by a shimanawa rope, signifying its spiritual importance. He is a guardian, a source of gentle wonder, a helper in times of need, but not a force that intervenes in human history on a grand scale.
And we also see the whimsical cat bus.
The cat bus, the
Star
gakaneko,
Wars.
or monster cat from Japanese folklore, capable of transforming into a bus to traverse vast distances in the blink of an eye. And the tiny susuatari, the sit sprites, reappear here too.
They get around.
They do. The spiritual ecosystem is thriving but invisible, existing parallel to the human world. It offers comfort, aid in times of personal crisis, like Mei getting lost, but it no longer directly intervenes in grand human events. It's a quiet, more intimate magic, a stark contrast to the power wielded by Howl or the Lilliputians. It shows magic retreating from the macro to the micro, the personal.
So from the absolute absence of magic during wartime in Grave of the Fireflies, we see this quiet, gentle return in Totoro. Almost as if nature spirits are timidly re-emerging in the peace of the countryside, like a healing balm.
A nice way to put it.
But how does the Ghibli world then fully enter modernity? What happens to magic as the nation rebuilds and embraces progress with renewed, almost relentless vigor?
That leads us squarely into a rebuilding nation and the modern era, roughly 1963 to the 1990s. This period really explores the tension between tradition and progress, between the rapidly modernizing society and the remnants of a spiritual or natural world being, well, paved over and left behind.
Okay, first, from Up on Poppy Hill, set specifically in 1963 Yokohama.
Right before the Tokyo Olympics.
Exactly. A period of immense optimism, Japan preparing for the '64 Olympics, symbolizing recovery, rapid economic growth, re-entry onto the world stage. And notably, this film is entirely devoid of magic.
Completely grounded.
A stark reflection, maybe, of the prevailing mindset of progress, realism looking forward, not back. The central conflict here is the preservation of the old Latin Quarter school clubhouse. This dilapidated but beloved building is threatened with demolition for new development.
A classic Ghibli conflict, old versus new.
Totally. It becomes this potent symbol for the past itself, a repository of memories, traditions, the collective spirit of generations, all threatened by the relentless push for modernization. The ghosts in this narrative aren't supernatural entities at all.
No.
No, they're the unresolved traumas and lingering secrets of the parents' generation, shaped by WWII and the Korean War. It's a very grounded, very human struggle for memory, identity, and the value of history in a rapidly changing world. No magic needed to tell that story.
Then we have Pompoko, which spans a much longer period from the 1960s all the way to the 1990s.
Yunuki.
The Tanuki. And this is described by our source as a tragic, decades-long chronicle of the final, losing battle of the magical world against human expansion. It directly documents the real-world Tama Newtown development project outside Tokyo, a massive suburban expansion that cleared vast tracts of forest.
So this one is explicitly about that conflict.
Explicitly. It features the Tanuki, the Japanese raccoon dogs, who are masters of illusion and transformation in folklore, known for their mischievous, shape-shifting abilities. And in a desperate last-ditch effort to save their forest home, well, they deploy their famously large magical scrotums as weapons or tools. In a futile war against the construction crews destroying their habitat, their grand Operation Spectre, this terrifying and spectacular parade of yokai and illusions meant to scare humans away, it ultimately fails, tragically.
How does it fail?
It's even co-opted and misinterpreted by a local theme park as like a publicity stunt. The humans just don't understand or don't want to. The consequences are devastating. Tanuki society is shattered, some are killed, while others are forced to assimilate, disguising themselves as humans just to survive within the very society that destroyed their home.
Oh, it's bleak.
It's a heartbreaking depiction of that submergence of magic in its most direct, violent, and utterly overwhelming form. Nature spirits literally being bulldozed.
And then, on a completely different note, almost like a palate cleanser, we have Kiki's Delivery Service, set in an alternate 1950s-60s.
A much gentler vision.
Yeah, it offers this gentler, almost nostalgic vision of magic's fate. It's set in this idyllic, peaceful Europe where the world wars seemingly never occurred, allowing for a quieter, less traumatic evolution of society.
Right, no major scars from conflict like in Poppy Hill or Grave.
And in this charming world, witchcraft is real, but it's depicted as a fading tradition. It's seamlessly integrated into modern society, but as a personal talent or a small business. Kiki's modest abilities, flying her broomstick, communicating with her familiar, Gigi.
Her mom making potions.
Right, or other witches working as fortune tellers. It shows magic as this quaint, almost mundane part of daily life, not a grand, world-altering force.
And Kiki's central crisis, that temporary loss of her powers. It isn't due to some evil curse or a grand battle. It's framed much more as a psychological issue, akin to artist's block or creative burnout, something common to any young person finding their way in the world.
So how does she get her powers back?
Not through some grand magical quest. She regains them through rest, through friendship, particularly with Tombo and Ursula the painter, and finding a renewed sense of purpose, helping someone else. Magic here isn't a world-altering force. It's something personal that must be nurtured and sustained by one's inner well-being and sense of self. It requires belief.
Okay. And finally, in this modern era section, we arrive at Spirited Away, set around 2001. The source says this film truly represents the culmination of this long process of separation between the human and spirit worlds.
The final stage, almost.
It's set in contemporary Japan. You can tell by that very recognizable 1990s Audi sedan the family drives firmly, placing it in our modern era.
Indeed. And the spirit world, which was once intertwined with the human realm in earlier eras like Mononoke, or even accessible to children like in Totoro, is now completely hidden. It's inaccessible, except by accident, through a specific liminal space, that creepy tunnel in the abandoned, decaying theme park.
Right, you have to stumble into it.
Yeah. Exactly. This act of entering the spirit world is a literal kamikakushi, a spiriting away by the gods, a term straight from Japanese folklore for unexplained disappearances. The spirit realm itself is this grand bathhouse, a vibrant, sprawling resort for kami and yokai, all sorts of Japanese spirits and demons to rest, purify themselves, and basically escape the human world.
A vacation spot for spirits.
Pretty much. Yubaba, the formidable witch who runs the bathhouse, Haku, the mysterious river spirit boy, Kamaji, the multi-armed boiler room attendant. They're all based on rich Japanese folklore figures. An essential theme is that loss of identity, symbolized by Yubaba stealing her employees' names. Forgetting your true name means you're trapped in her service forever, losing your connection to your past and your true self.
But the truly potent symbol for this entire era, and maybe the Ghibli universe's relationship with modern humanity, is the stink spirit, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That scene is incredible. It's initially this putrid, horrifying mass of sludge that comes into the bathhouse, stinking up the place. But eventually, with Chihiro's help, it's revealed to be a powerful river god, choked and corrupted by human pollution filled with bicycles, trash, fishing lines, all sorts of debris.
It's such a stark, visceral visual.
It represents humanity's environmental impact, the desecration of the natural and spiritual world, made tangible and grotesque.
So what's fascinating about Spirited Away, according to the source, is that the spirit world hasn't been completely destroyed, despite Pompoko's grim outcome.
No, it survived. But how?
Instead, it's been forced into a segregated existence. A parallel realm of forgotten gods and ancient spirits, now often tainted by the modern human waste they are compelled to process or coexist with, like the river spirit.
So they're hidden, but also dealing with our mess.
Exactly. It encapsulates the deep rift that has formed throughout the preceding centuries. Magic survives, but largely out of sight, scarred by humanity's lack of respect for its natural and spiritual environment. The cost of human progress has created this barrier, and only those who stumble through or have a pure heart like Chihiro can bridge it, even temporarily. Wow. From celestial gods on the moon, to animal gods diminished in the forest, to hidden, polluted spirits in a bathhouse. The journey has definitely been one of ever-increasing separation and human dominance.
A long, slow withdrawal.
Which takes us finally to part 4, the post-apocalyptic future, the world of Nasai, of the Valley of the Wind, set way down the timeline around 3000 CE.
The far end of the tapestry.
This film, or perhaps more accurately the manga it's based on, is positioned at the far end of our Ghibli timeline. It presents a world completely reshaped by the ultimate consequences of that past technological hubris and environmental disregard we've been tracing.
This truly serves as the ultimate synthesis, and maybe the logical conclusion, of Ghibli's core themes. While the renowned 1984 film is already a powerful environmentalist fable and a meditation on humanity's place in nature.
Yeah, the film is amazing on its own.
It is. But the more extensive 7-volume manga, written by Hayao Miyazaki himself from 1982 to 1994, provides the definitive and far more complex lore. It reveals a truly profound and challenging philosophy about humanity's place in a damaged world. It takes the ideas from earlier films and stretches them to their absolute breaking point.
Okay, so we need to talk about the manga's deeper lore here. Let's start with a cataclysmic backstory. The 7 Days of Fire. This occurred approximately 1,000 years before the film's event, so around 2000 CE in this timeline.
A turning point.
And this wasn't a war between nations, right?
Yeah.
The source calls it a self-inflicted apocalypse. Industrial civilization, with its unchecked technology, basically destroyed itself in just a single week.
The ultimate culmination of those cycles of conflict and technological hubris we saw in Laputa, Howl's Wind Rises, just taken to the extreme.
And the instruments of this cataclysmic destruction were the god warriors. The Kyushin-Hai, literally giant god soldiers.
Terrifying name.
And terrifying beings. Colossal biomechanical weapons fueled by nuclear energy. These things turned on their creators, scorched the entire Earth, and left behind a poisoned radioactive wasteland.
So humanity created its own destroyers. Echoes of the Laputan robots, but far worse.
Exactly. This event represents the logical and horrifying conclusion of escalating conflicts and the weaponization of technology seen throughout the timeline. It's the ultimate price of unchecked ambition. A self-inflicted wound so profound that it utterly reshaped the planet.
So fast forward 1,000 years after that global devastation, we arrive at the age of the Sea of Corruption.
The Fukai.
The Fukai. This world is dominated by the toxic jungle of vast and continually expanding fungal forest that releases a poisonous miasma, spores lethal to unprotected humans. Humanity is barely surviving, pushed to the absolute brink of extinction.
And this new mutated ecosystem is guarded by giant mutated insects.
Yeah.
Most notably the Omu.
The Omu, yes. Colossal, armored, psychically sensitive creatures whose many eyes reflect their collective consciousness and deep connection to the fungal forest. They're like the immune system of the jungle.
And the remnants of humanity survive in these small, isolated kingdoms, like Naske's pastoral Valley of the Wind, which is protected from the toxic spores by a steady breeze from the sea. Technology has largely regressed.
Back to pre-industrial levels, mostly. Wind power, riding animals like the large horse claws, gliders for flight. It's a stark contrast to the advanced magitech of Laputa, or even the industrial might that caused the apocalypse.
Now, in the film, Nausicaa, the compassionate princess of the valley, makes this crucial discovery, right? Through her unique empathy and connection to nature, she learns that the plants of the toxic jungle are only poisonous because they are actively absorbing and cleansing toxins from the old world's pollution.
A huge revelation.
Yeah. When grown in clean underground soil, the plants are harmless. So the jungle isn't a plague at all. It's the world's own radical, desperate, millennia-long attempt at healing itself. A testament to nature's incredible resilience, even after near total destruction.
But the manga takes this revelation and twists it, going to a far more startling and philosophically challenging level, what the tapestry source calls the Great Revelation.
Okay, brace ourselves.
Nausicaa's journey eventually leads her to the Crypt of Shuwa, this monolithic, ancient, self-aware artifact from the pre-apocalyptic civilization. And here, she uncovers the ultimate secret. The Sea of Corruption, the toxic jungle itself, is entirely artificial.
Artificial? But it seems so natural, so wild.
It's a bioengineered ecosystem created by the last scientists of the industrial era before the 7 Days of Fire even happened. It was a massive millennia-long terraforming project designed to purify the planet over thousands of years. They planned the apocalypse, or at least planned for its aftermath.
That's a huge, almost horrifying twist. So the very nature they've been living with, fighting against, trying to understand, It's a human creation.
Essentially, yes. But the most shocking revelation isn't just about the planet's flora and fauna, it's about humanity itself.
Oh, no.
These ancient scientists didn't only re-engineer the environment, they also re-engineered humanity.
What?
The current human race, including Masake, her people, everyone living in that era, were genetically altered to be able to survive the polluted environment during the long purification process.
Okay, so they were adapted.
Yes, but here's the kicker. The pure, non-toxic world being painstakingly created by the jungle over millennia was not intended for them.
Not intended for them. Then who?
This is where it gets truly provocative and deeply unsettling. The original plan, encoded within the crypt of Shua, was for these ancient scientists to store the genetic data of the original, pure human race, along with their own digitized consciousnesses. Their cold, calculating plan was to re-emerge once the planet was fully cleansed, repopulate the Earth with the original humans, and eradicate the current altered species, Nasake's people whom they viewed as merely temporary caretakers. A disposable means to an end.
They were meant to be wiped out. That's monstrous.
It's the ultimate hubris of a long-dead civilization playing God with life itself,
Yeah.
condemning their own descendants.
So Nausicaa is faced with this horrifying truth. Her people, everyone she knows and loves, are considered an impurity, a temporary placeholder, meant to be wiped away in service of a long-dead ideal and a pure humanity that doesn't even exist anymore. And her response?
She makes a radical and definitive choice. She utterly rejects the preordained clinical plan of her long-dead creators. She destroys the crypt of Shua.
Destroys it.
Destroys it, along with the stored pure human eggs and the digitized consciousnesses of those old scientists. She literally takes destiny into her own hands, shattering their millennia-long plan.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful.
This act is the ultimate assertion of self-determination. It's the most profound answer in the entire Ghibli saga to that fundamental question. How do you live?
How do you live knowing that?
Exactly. Nausicaa chooses to secure a future for the current, flawed humanity, accepting that they must continue to live in an imperfect, still toxic world scarred by the past, rather than be sacrificed for some manufactured, sterile paradise designed by arrogant ancestors.
She chooses her people, imperfections and all.
Yes. This decision reframes the entire Ghibli saga. It transforms it from just a simple environmentalist narrative into this profound meditation on what it truly means to be human. To accept impurity both in ourselves and the world, to forge one's own destiny, and to live authentically in the present, not for a fabricated, pure future dictated by past mistakes. It's a statement about valuing life as it is right now, not as some ancient plan decided it should be.
What an incredible, challenging, and profoundly philosophical conclusion to our timeline. It really pushes you to question so much about progress, perfection, legacy.
Wow. It's heavy stuff, but incredibly thought-provoking.
Definitely. But before we wrap up, let's quickly touch on Part V, outliers, spin-offs, and meta-narratives. Because not every Ghibli film fits neatly into this primary chronological timeline we've built, right?
Exactly. But they still offer incredibly valuable insights into Studio Ghibli's diverse storytelling and the very nature of its interconnected universe, often in surprising ways.
So it's important to acknowledge that not every film is a literal chapter in our grand chronology. Some are explicitly self-contained worlds, like Tales from Earthsea from 2006.
Right, that's perhaps the most distinct outlier. It's explicitly set in Ursula K. Le Guin's own richly detailed pre-existing high fantasy world of Earthsea, a universe with its own distinct rules for magic, balance, dragons, the whole nine yards.
So its lore is entirely self-contained. It deals with a magical balance being disrupted, dragons fighting, magic weakening due to human actions. While it shares broad Ghibli themes like balance and consequences for human hubris.
Sure, the thematic echoes are there.
But its specific world-building, wizards, dragons, ancient runes, the true names, it just doesn't connect directly to the timeline we've been exploring with Kaguya, Laputa, Nausicaa, etc. It's a wonderful film, but truly separate.
Agreed. Then there's The Secret World of Variety from 2010, beautifully adapted from Mary Norton's beloved The Borrowers series.
The Little People.
The Little People. On the surface, it could maybe exist within the modern era of our main timeline. It features humans, a generally contemporary setting.
Right, it feels like it could be happening down the street.
But its core lore is unique. It introduces these tiny 4-inch tall borrowers who live secretly within human homes, meticulously borrowing small, unnoticed items, sugar cubes, pins, tissues, just to survive.
And their entire culture is built around this strict code of survival,
Yeah.
right? Never be seen by humans, the beings. Only borrow insignificant items, leave no trace.
Exactly. And while it shares quintessential Ghibli traits like a deep appreciation for nature, from their tiny perspective, a human garden is a vast, wild wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And that underlying melancholy of a species on the brink of extinction due to human impact, their habitat's constantly threatened. Its unique lore of the borrowers remains distinct. It doesn't directly intersect with the magical or spiritual elements of our primary chronology. The gods, the spirits, the magitech, they are their own unique hidden pocket of existence.
Okay, now, for perhaps the most fascinating connection of all, what the tapestry source calls a meta-narrative. This is the beautiful relationship between Whisper of the Heart and The Cat Returns.
Ah, yes, this one's brilliant.
This connection isn't about direct chronological succession within a shared physical reality like Laputa leading to Howl's. It's about the power of imagination itself, the very magic that brings stories to life.
It's Ghibli being wonderfully self-referential about creativity.
It really is, and it's such an aha moment for so many fans once they realize the connection. So Whisper of the Heart from 1995 is this grounded, very realistic coming-of-age drama set in a contemporary Tokyo suburb.
Very relatable.
Our protagonist, Shizuku Tsukushima, is this charmingly relatable bookworm and an aspiring writer, struggling with finding her voice, her purpose, dealing with first love.
Standard teenage stuff, beautifully rendered.
Her creative journey is catalyzed by a series of charming encounters. Following a mysterious cat on a train, discovering a magical-feeling antique shop, and meeting the aspiring violin maker, Seiji Yamasawa.
Mm-hmm. And in that shop, she's enchanted by a particular cat statuette, right? The Baron.
Bare number of unkicking. And his poignant backstory, how he was separated from his companion Louise during WWII, which mirrors the shop owner's own profound loss. This deeply inspires her. It sparks something in her, makes her want to pursue her own writing seriously.
Okay, so here's the key point from the source. The fantastical, dreamlike sequences in Whisper of the Heart, where Shizuku flies through floating islands with the Baron or journeys into the land of the cats.
Yeah, those gorgeous fantasy bits.
They are explicitly presented as visualizations of her creative process as she writes her very first novel. They aren't meant to be seen as real events happening within the film's primary reality.
Ah, so that's her imagining the story she's writing.
Exactly. They are vivid manifestations of her burgeoning imagination, her artistic spirit taking flight. It's her internal world made manifest on screen for us, the viewers.
Okay, and this leads directly to The Cat Returns from 2002.
Which is a full-fledged fantasy adventure featuring the now living, walking, talking Baron and Muta, the fat, cynical cat whom Shizuku followed in the previous film.
So the widely accepted theory, which the source supports based on production history and subtle nods within the film itself, is that The Cat Returns is, in fact, the very story that Shizuku wrote at the end of Whisper of the Heart.
Wow. So we're watching her novel.
We're essentially watching her novel come to life. It's a complete, vivid realization of her literary imagination.
That's brilliant. So this meta layer suggests something really profound about the Ghibli universe itself, that the fantastical Ghibli realms we love aren't always parallel physical realities. Sometimes they can actually be born from the creative spirit of characters living within the more realistic settings.
Like Shizuku dreaming up the cat kingdom.
Exactly. The magic of Ghibli, therefore, is explicitly framed, at least in this instance, as the magic of storytelling itself. A testament to the power of human imagination to craft entire worlds, whether on paper or on screen.
That beautifully reinforces the central thesis of our deep dive, doesn't it? The shared universe of Studio Ghibli isn't one of literal canonical fact, but one of profound thematic resonance, recurring inspiration, and the boundless transformative power of imagination.
It's a beautiful way to interpret the magic within these films, recognizing that the true magic lies in the story and the human heart that creates and receives it.
And so, we come to the end of our journey today, charting our way through the grand Ghibli tapestry. We've constructed this thematic chronology for the Studio Ghibli films, revealing what feels like a grand, cohesive, a deeply resonant narrative that spans from an age of myth all the way to a distant, post-human future.
And while, as we've said, a strictly canonical single-universe interpretation isn't supported by official studio statements, they prefer individual appreciation.
Right.
This thematic chronology approach truly uncovers a remarkably consistent philosophical arc. This overarching story isn't really about the interconnected adventures of specific characters crossing over, but about the evolving relationship, that complex dance between humanity, nature, and the very essence of magic itself across millennia.
We began way back in an age of gods and ancient pacts, witnessing that great separation. Humanity's connection to the divine, both celestial and terrestrial, was slowly severed by ambition, by industry, forcing the gods to retreat or diminish.
Then we saw the breathtaking rise and subsequent fall of Magitech civilizations. Humanity harnessed remnants of magic with powerful technology in places like Laputa, only for that immense, unchecked power to lead almost inevitably to devastating hubris and collapse, leaving fractured legacies like in Howl's world.
The timeline then charted the waning of magic through the tumultuous 20th century. As human technology and societal complexity escalated, industrialization, global warfare, relentless modernization, magic receded further. It became a personal curse like Porto's, a quiet dream like Jiro's, or a hidden phenomenon accessible only to the innocent, like Totoro's forest or Kiki's small-town witchcraft.
We witnessed the final, tragic struggle of the old magical world against modernity in Pompoko, and the almost complete segregation of the spirit world into its own tainted, hidden realm in Spirited Away. Cut off, but still there.
And finally, we culminated in the post-apocalyptic future of Nausake, of the Valley of the Wind, the ultimate harrowing consequence of past technological arrogance and environmental destruction. Yet the deeper lore from the manga revealed that profound philosophical conclusion.
Nausicaä's radical choice, rejecting a manufactured, pure future dictated by the past in favor of a flawed, self-determined existence for her people now. It feels like the ultimate statement on the Ghibli philosophy, embracing an imperfect present over a fabricated ideal.
So the true complete lore of Studio Ghibli, if we think about it this way, isn't just a sequence of plot points or crossovers. It's an evolving exploration of a central, profound question. The one posed by the Japanese title of Miyazaki's latest film, The Boy and the Heron, How Do You Live?
Exactly. It is this multi-generational artistic statement told through different eras and characters about the consequences of greed, the horror of war, the beauty and resilience of the natural world, and the quiet, enduring spirit of humanity just trying to navigate a world it constantly reshapes, often without thinking.
And those recurring motifs we mentioned, the fleeting fox squirrels, the mischievous soot sprites, the constant presence of flight as a symbol of freedom or maybe escape, they're not just clues to some grand puzzle or simple Easter eggs.
No, they're more like thematic threads in this grand tapestry, aren't they? Weaving together disparate stories into a single, powerful, philosophical vision.
So as you, our listeners, carry this new understanding forward, how does this grand narrative, this thematic chronology, challenge your perceptions of progress, technology, and humanity's place in the natural world?
What lessons can you draw from Studio Ghibli's consistent, compassionate, and often challenging philosophical message as you navigate your own journey, your own life?
We invite you to consider rewatching some of these cherished films, maybe with this new, deeper lens. You might be surprised at what fresh insights, what new layers of meaning you discover hidden within their beautiful frames. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Ghibli tapestry.